Hello everyone. Welcome to Indianomics series. Today we are going to discuss about current account deficit. Current account deficit is a very important fundamental concept of economics because it tells about the status of the Indian economy. Current account deficit is a part of balance of payment. You might be knowing about this fact. Now this news and discussion is being oriented towards connecting your logic with the current news which is being there in the newspaper. The reason for discussing this news is recently India in the fourth quarter of 2019-20 experienced surplus in current account. And there had been a surplus of millions of dollars. This had been because of a trend. Recently there had been reduction in current account deficit. Recently there had been a reduction in current account deficit, and many people are celebrating this fact that current account deficit is being reduced. But this news is oriented towards making you understand about it should not be always a reason to celebrate, especially when your current account deficit is being reduced. Now before discussing that fact, let me tell you something about current account deficit. See, there is a concept that is called as balance of payment. Balance of payment. And in balance of payment, there are two sub accounts. One is called as current account and another is called as capital account. Current account is basically concentrated with goods, service, remittances, profits, dividend, interest. These things comes under current account. Capital account is more concentrated with investment and borrowing. This is a locus of current capital account. Sorry. Now, India consumes goods and service. Why? Because of the population. We have a population of around 138 crores. 138 crore population will require goods and services. Now, if I talk about the industrial ecosystem in our country, we are not able to produce according to the demands of the people. And that is why India had to import a lot of goods and services. So we import goods, we import service, we import services also. We also export services, but we also import services. We do both way. When I talk about the capital account, India receives a lot of FDI. India receives FII, FDI and FII. These are two important concepts. FDI means the foreign investment, which is direct. That means opening up a company. Multinational companies open up their subsidiaries in our country. FII means the short-term investment which is coming in our country, like investment in the shares, debentures, securities of the government or the private sector entities. So this is basically the capital account. As I said that India imports in the current account, whereas India is a favorable ground for investment. That means in capital account we have surplus. And you might be aware about the fact also India keeps on talking about ease of doing business ranking so as to get more and more investment. So when you cannot produce enough amounts of goods and services which are required, then at least you need to generate some amount of surplus in the capital account so as to sustain your current account. So in current account we have deficit. In capital account we have surplus. And this surplus is more than the deficit in the current account. But please understand this fact, capital account surplus is not the property of India. This is the money of the investors. So if they can come in your country because of good and favorable ecosystem, they can also go from your country. So a sustainable method of funding your balance of payment is more a current account. But currently, if we are not in a situation, at least for a duration, we can sustain the capital account. Capital account will bring us technologies, and over a period of time, we are in a situation to export the goods which previously used to import from outside, like automobiles. Okay, so balance of payment is the statistical record of the transactions of the resident of a country with the outside world, and it is divided into two parts. One is current account and another is capital account. In current account we have deficit, and in capital account we have surplus. Now why we have the deficit? Because of certain reasons which we will discuss. Now the current news is that India got a surplus of $558 million in the fourth quarter of 2020. See, the quarter is composed of 3 months, and an year is divided into 4 quarters. Yes, that means year start from 1st April, that means April, May and June, first quarter, then July, August, September, second, then after that you have October, November and December, and thereafter in this manner we calculate the quarter. So the fourth quarter result shows that we have a surplus. Yes, we don't have a deficit. India usually have the deficit, but in the fourth quarter we are having surplus. Many people are celebrating this fact, but the economists are more concerned with the situation of the Indian economy, because we need a deeper analysis of the situation in order to conclude that whether it is good or bad for the Indian economy. You can see the situation of the current account, that means the import of goods and service. See, you can see that 2004 and 5. In 2004, first quarter, we had surplus of 3, it is around $3,000 million. Yes, this is in million dollars. After 2004, in 2019, fourth quarter, we are having a surplus of $557.69 million. That means there had been around 7 years when we are actually in a situation of surplus. Otherwise, we always had a deficit. This line represents 0 and this is the negative. That means there is more deficit. So we used to have a deficit, but in the fourth quarter we are having surplus, and this is the news which has been mentioned in the Live Mint newspaper. Now why India always have deficit? Because the reason is very clear, that India imports more and India exports less. Because exports will give us forex and imports will deplete our forex. Yes, so if our imports are more than exports, then automatically we are having deficit. Yes, some of the major items which we import are crude oil, gold and electronic items. Yes, so we import around 84% of the crude oil. On an average, I am saying, this may vary, but the latest record says that we import around 84% of the crude oil. We also import gold because gold is considered to be a safe security asset, safe asset. Yes, electronic goods like mobile phones, like technology, these things are also imported from other countries. Why India is not able to export these? Because for exporting, you need to produce something. You need to produce a product. And production requires certain factors like land, labor, capital, and a favorable government policy like taxation. We are not able to explore the raw materials in our country. The laborers are not having enough amount of skills. Technological backwardness, we import most of the technologies from outside. And the taxes policies, like the policies of land acquisition or taxes, these are also not much favorable towards the investors. So that is why India is not able to provide them a proper ease of doing business, right? A proper ground of ease of doing business. So unless you go provide them with a proper condition to produce something, you cannot export the goods or service. And that is why we import more than what we export. I hope you might have got this point. Now, why current account deficit has been decreasing? Now, please understand this fact here. There are two terms that is called as import and exports. Imports and exports. Say, for example, in 2019 and 20, we imported 10 units and we exported 8 units. That means cumulatively we imported more. So we had a deficit of 2 rupees, 2 units for example. In 2020, say for example, we imported 4 units only and we exported, say for example, 5 units. So what is happening? Export is decreasing, import is also decreasing, but import is decreasing more as compared to export. Yes. So here cumulatively there is a appreciation of 1 unit. So 1 unit should not be seen as a condition of surplus. Rather, a deeper introspection says that you are not able to import because of weak demand. Why weak demand? Because there is a COVID crisis in our country. So weak demand, weak domestic demand. And where are you going to export? Because you don't have a market, because COVID is being, COVID is affecting almost every economy of the world. So you are also not able to export the products. That means your imports are suffering and your exports are suffering. Exports are suffering some amount less as compared to import. So maybe that may be a reason for you to celebrate. But a weak domestic demand cannot be a reason to celebrate. This is a reason to introspect. Okay. So that is why the economists are more worried about the situation of the current account deficit. Now, what needs to be learned? In a short term, forex appreciation, more and more forex is going to increase your capability to import, because you are dependent on import. So certainly if there is a current account surplus, that means that is increasing your capability to import. You can plan accordingly. And forex is very important external sector fundamental indicator. Yes, say for example, if a country takes loan from the other countries, so if that country is having a forex, huge amount of forex, then the outside image or the global image of that company is going to be better, because that belongs to a country which is having huge amount of forex. So it strengthens the fundamental indicator in the external account. However, please understand this thing, lower amount of imports, because imports, many a times we import intermediate goods. Yes, we import intermediate goods and we export, say for example, finished goods. So there is a value addition. So imports are not always wrong. Say for example, if US is importing the basic medicines and if US is exporting the branded medicines after doing validation on the basic medicines, so there is some kind of validation which is going on in US. The same situation can be of India also. So you cannot say that it is always wrong. So imports are not more, which represents a weak demand, should be a case of worry for India. Okay, so that's all for the discussion which is being done. What needs to be done? Make in India. How make in India? By providing a favorable ecosystem. Now, how favorable ecosystem? By improving the laws like land laws, by providing the skills to the population. These are the fundamental structural weakness in our country. Yes, if these fundamental weakness can be covered up, then we can become sustainable for a longer duration. The goods which we are importing today, if because of the success of Make in India, we start producing those goods tomorrow, that shows the fundamental strength of our country. So the COVID crisis is bringing a fundamental challenge in front of our country because of migrant workers and all those things. We need to realize the potential of those challenges and try to convert those challenges into opportunity by a favorable policy, and that is why also the government have recently named a policy named called as Atmanirbhar Bharat. So if Atmanirbhar Bharat policy is going to be successful, for a longer duration, we expect that the fundamental situation in the external account can be good. Rather than for the shorter term, this current account surplus should not be a reason to celebrate. So based on the discussion that we discussed today, this is a question in front of you which you have to solve and give your answer in the comment box. With reference to the current account deficit, which of the following statements is correct? It is a statistical record of the transactions of only goods and services. Second, a decrease in current account deficit represents the saving of forex for the economy. Third, a decrease in current account deficit represents the strengthening of the fundamentals of the economy. And fourth, current account deficit is primarily responsible for appreciation of forex in the country. You need to tell me the correct answer in the comment box. Thank you so much. We'll meet again. Till then, take care. Goodbye.